I'm 103 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that nobody, not your parents, not your therapist, not your self-help books, will ever tell you. And the reason they won't, because it's too painful, too stark, too real. I've been alive for over a century. I've buried 3 husbands, 2 children, most of my friends, and every single person I knew before I turned 40. I'm telling you this now because there isn't much time left to pretend I don't know what my life added up to. Most days I sit very still, not because I want to, but because my body insists on it. When you live this long, movement becomes a negotiation, but my mind still wanders. It goes back far more than it stays here. I didn't plan to live this long. None of us do. I planned for next year, for next season, for later. Later was always my favorite word. People hear my age and assume I must be full of answers. The truth is, I'm full of memories I didn't question when they were happening. That's what hurts the most. I didn't make terrible choices. I made reasonable ones, sensible ones, the kind people nod at and say, "That makes sense." My first marriage happened when I was 21. He was steady, older than me. My parents liked him. That mattered back then. Love wasn't something you waited to feel deeply. It was something you agreed to grow into. We had 2 children together, a boy and a girl. I learned how to function on very little sleep. I learned how to cook without thinking, how to fold laundry while listening for footsteps. My days were full. That's what I told myself when I felt something missing. I didn't call it loneliness. I didn't have language for that yet. He worked long hours. I told myself that was devotion. When he came home tired and quiet, I matched him. We didn't fight much. People think that's a sign of happiness. Sometimes it's just silence shared politely. The second marriage came later, after the first one ended, not with betrayal or drama, but with distance. We looked at each other one day and realized there was nothing left to argue about. That felt like maturity at the time. My second husband was warmer, more present. By then I had learned how to adapt. I knew how to fit myself into someone else's life. We had 1 child together, another girl. I loved holding her. I loved how she looked at me like I was enough. Somewhere between school lunches and grocery lists, I stopped asking myself questions. Not big ones, small ones, like what I wanted to read or whether I enjoyed my days or why I always felt relief when I was alone. I worked for years as an assistant in an office. The job was fine. The people were fine. Everything was fine. That word followed me everywhere. In the mornings, I packed lunches. In the evenings, I made dinners. On weekends, I caught up on chores. When someone asked how I was, I said busy and felt proud of it. I believed usefulness was the same thing as purpose. There were moments, small ones, where something in me stirred, standing at a bus stop, watching strangers go by. Sitting at the edge of my bed after everyone was asleep, I would think, "Is this it?" And then I'd feel ashamed for asking. I told myself there would be time later, when the kids were older, when things calmed down, when I wasn't needed so much. Life doesn't calm down, it just changes its demands. The cost didn't arrive all at once, it came quietly. I missed school plays because dinner wasn't ready. I postponed conversations because someone needed help with homework. I said no to invitations because it was easier to stay home. No one scolded me for it. That's why it was dangerous. My children grew up. They became their own people. I was proud of them, but I didn't always know them. I knew their schedules, their responsibilities. I didn't always know what worried them late at night. When my second husband fell ill, I stepped into care without hesitation. I was good at that. I knew how to disappear efficiently. By the time he died, I had already been gone for years. After that, the house felt too large, too quiet. I told myself the emptiness was grief. Some of it was recognition. I remember one afternoon, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a cup of tea that had gone cold. I realized I had never asked myself who I was without someone needing something from me. That thought stayed with me. It didn't change anything right away. Change is harder than people admit, especially when you're tired. Now, at 108, people ask me how I did it, how I lived so long. I smile. I say the usual things. Luck, good genes, nothing special. I don't tell them the truth, that I postponed myself so thoroughly that life had nothing urgent to end. If you're listening to this, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what it felt like to keep waiting, to believe that showing up for everyone else was enough to justify your absence from your own life. There's more I need to say about what finally made things clear, about what can't be recovered, but I need to stop here for now. My voice doesn't last the way it used to, and some memories take time to surface. If you're still here, listening, thank you for staying. Part of me spent a lifetime believing I didn't need to be heard. I know better now.
When you reach this age, people assume the hardest part is watching others die. That's not quite right. The hardest part is watching the version of yourself you never became fade completely out of reach. After my second husband passed, people told me I was strong. I accepted that label because it was familiar. Strength had always been something others placed on me when I didn't complain. I moved through my days carefully. I kept routines, morning tea, a short walk when my legs allowed it, afternoon radio. I filled the hours the way I always had, quietly, efficiently, without asking much of them. But something had shifted. The noise of responsibility was gone. No one needed dinner. No one needed advice right away. No one was waiting for me to hold things together. That's when the questions got louder. I began thinking about moments I had dismissed. The class I once considered taking and never did because it felt indulgent. The book I wanted to write small notes in but kept pristine instead. The friend I lost touch with because returning the call felt like one more obligation. I didn't frame these as regrets at first. I framed them as curiosities. What would have happened if I had said yes more often? If I had disappointed people occasionally? If I had chosen myself in ways that weren't dramatic, just honest? The answers didn't arrive with clarity. They arrived with weight. There was a day, years ago now, when my eldest son visited. He sat across from me and talked about his work, his stress, his plans. I listened carefully. I always had. At one point, he paused and said, "I don't really know what you like, Mom." He didn't say it cruelly. He said it thoughtfully, like someone realizing something out loud. I laughed it off. I said I liked seeing him happy. That seemed like the right answer. He nodded. We moved on. That night, I lay awake longer than usual. I tried to list things I liked that weren't attached to someone else. The list was short, embarrassingly short. That's when I understood something I had avoided my entire life. I had confused being needed with being known, and I had chosen the first because it felt safer. Being needed comes with instructions. Being known requires risk. The turning point didn't come with drama, no sudden illness, no argument. It came with quiet honesty that had nowhere to go but inward. I started noticing how often I had minimized myself, not out of humility, but out of habit. How often I had said it doesn't matter when it did. How often I had stayed silent to keep things smooth. Smooth is comfortable. Smooth is also flat. I thought back to my younger years, to the woman I was in my 20s, already careful, already adjusting. I remember standing in front of a mirror once, holding a dress I liked very much. It was a little brighter than what I usually wore. I put it back. I told myself it wasn't practical. That memory returns to me more often than it should. The loss that clarified everything wasn't the loss of a person, it was the loss of possibility, the realization that certain doors had closed quietly without anyone announcing it. I can't start over. I can't reclaim decades. I can't sit down with my younger self and explain what waiting costs. There are things I will never do, places I will never go, versions of myself that will remain imaginary. That's not tragic, it's simply final. I've made peace with many things in my life. This took longer. If I'm speaking to you now, it's not because I believe my story is special. It isn't. That's part of the problem. It's ordinary, common, easy to slip into. I waited to live for myself because I thought that part could come later, once I had earned it, once I had fulfilled enough roles, once there was space. The truth is, space doesn't appear on its own. It has to be claimed gently, consistently, before it's too late. I don't say that with bitterness, I say it with clarity. These days I allow myself small things, choosing what to read, saying no when I'm tired, letting silence be silence, not something to fill. It doesn't change the past, it changes how I sit with it. Sometimes I imagine the women I might have been, not to punish myself, but to acknowledge her. She existed, she was waiting. If this meant something to you, you don't need to respond, you don't need to agree. Just know that a life can be full and still unfinished. Mine was. And now, at the end, I finally understand why that matters.